The feminine. She knows the way of the heart and the body, and that is an inner child adult, and so mindfully living and loving people, mystics and not. We have our lovely feminine, and it's the feminine energetic body, and I call it the divine feminine, and a lot more. And we also have an oversoul. So I am a divine feminine and or feminine of my oversoul. And I actively have that connection with that lovely source, God, universe, Akash, all of it. So we bring it all together here because that's what the 5D collective does. We hear words and they don't mean fixed in stone. They actively always say the same things. Not same exact. We like the in-depth version of engaging in intellectually and emotionally stimulating conversation. So that's when the pair is amazing. So when you have an actual masculine with an actual feminine, you're going to see fireworks. Okay, now the feminine, again, she knows the way of the heart because she also knows her own masculine, the way of the mind. And that's because she has inner harmony. And it's not a she because of it being a she. It's that your body is a she, the feminine, according to however many different ways, when they talk about feminine. So we have the neutral pronouns. That is where oneness is neutral in the sense that it is you see, this is that part of Trinity. So I'm going to leave it alone right now because it's not part of our lovely conversation, which is also involving channeled guidance message. For my lovely audio listeners, this is also going to be what we usually have on our Friday for channeled guidance. But if anything else comes through, don't worry, I'll have an update for you. And so in the meantime, the feminine, again, she knows how to, if my vocal cords will work, she knows when her heart is actively upset, and then she knows how to handle it. That's called, I know how to self-regulate my nervous system, and not to project, but to communicate. Okay, so the feminine has an open third eye and an open crown, and then she has an open heart, always, not just sometimes. Otherwise, the lines of communication with source are actively interrupted. I asked a very specific question when I first started reading tarot, and I got my answer immediately. The Three of Swords came out, which is that's when you're offline, you're not actively communicating with source, you're actively a person with the ego. And I've seen plenty of those who are the fake feminines, but we have them for a reason, remember, because the feminine does know everything, and she also knows she doesn't know everything, but she does know everything about how life works. It's a deep knowing. I'll share it in a minute. So we're aware of our body, and we're aware of our heart, and we're aware of communicating open-heartedly. These are the three main cards that came out for today's channeled guidance, and just overall as we continue with our ascension energies, which always bring up what the body has to share. So your feminine doesn't go offline. The masculine, that's why there's an unfortunate business with the masculines for anyone who's a feminine. It's not tragedy. No, we actively do not have pain in letting go and starting something new. The only ones who do are the ones who fall for gender stereotypes, and they're not feminines. Okay, so I'm talking to you as a mystic, not as a person. Meaning that, yeah, I'm a woman. I don't agree with the gender stereotypes because I actively don't do gender stereotypes. I do know of neuroscientists to explain to me how the man's brain is made and the woman's brain is made, and so I can actively have what is an intelligent if I want conversation. If I have to be a dumb person, I would be with those who actively want to perpetuate gender stereotypes. They're not dumb because they can't regurgitate. No, they can. They actively aren't creative. They actively are limited. Their belief system is limited. Their outdated mindset is limited. And when I meet them, I know who they are because of the way they react to things. And we're going to have some fun stories. So in the meantime, the feminine, we know the way of the heart and the body, and the masculine, the way of the mind. And together, life's created. I create life every day with my name, Maria. And the mindful living and loving, they will enjoy IHP. The ones who want to romanticize, demonize, or basically be with superhero capes and supervillains, they have the people who navigate the interrupted. Remember, as I told you, the Three of Swords, it means you're brokenhearted. Doesn't have to mean it's something big, but actively, even a stubbing of your toe, we have a Zen master who talks to you about laundry. Okay, so that Zen master, he thinks of sadness as laundry. And the path to enlightenment and to connecting with source involves more than just one way. I'm going to give you 4 of the ways that I keep in my brain from a book and my oracle deck, the Shaman. It's a small one that I have not out. Pain, loss, bliss, delight, something like that. Bliss and wisdom. I got the good end of the stick, bliss and wisdom, because pain and loss is actively something that I, as a feminine, don't process with my temporal junction. See, my masculine is a divine masculine, and I'm a divine feminine, and then my masculine and my feminine, they work in harmony because my name's Maria. And I have a 3-year-old who didn't experience shame, and a 1-year-old who did not have the something sacred broken. I have secure attachment. So what I am is a healthy, self-worth woman. That's it. I'm an ordinary human being who can explain to you, and that is it. I'm going to try and make sure we can all understand that it's it, but it isn't it. I see many fancier words being spoken. I'm trying to share with you what the embodiment of also that which people who don't arrive at embodying the frequency, because they keep saying it's hard to be in inner harmony. No, it's not. Why would it be hard? Don't you have words in your brain as they come up? Don't you have feelings in your body as they come up? Aren't you self-aware? How old are you? I'm wondering, because I was 16 when I was aware of all of this. I'm not a special gifted anything. I just have introception, though. But then again, I'm just mindfully aware of things because I got taught how to be a decent human being by my mother and then the people around me, my teachers, my catechism. In fact, God and Jesus are the reason why I'm here. Although we know of plenty of people who use that word and those names. So let me just leave it to where feminine is enjoying to see sciences explain what spirituality has always brought to us. Because again, a true feminine isn't brokenhearted. So we know that life doesn't ever auto-destruct. That is the number one illusion that the ego brings, and that's your left mode. And it's your secondary consciousness as a human being. I have it too. The difference is I'm a feminine who already got to take a look at that, and I have my unbreakable bond of faith with God and Jesus, who told me, God, to be humble and not cast stones. And I learned about that. So when you read things like this, adapted from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, I don't know what it is. I have never read it, but it's a very good quote from Greg Braden's book. Which one is this? I'll read it after, but it's one of his books way back when he still had long hair. So anyways, no man can reveal to you aught but that which already lies half asleep in the dawning of your knowledge. Doesn't anybody love philosophy? So let me bring you a little hint. Your body stores, thanks Peter Levine, come on in, trauma. And it's in the muscles, bones, and tissues. And there's a bunch of other people who inform you of this. Now, you learning these words doesn't mean that you are going to actively be able to snap and done. No, because actively you learn from other smart people like Dr. Daniel Siegel with interpersonal neurobiology, how your brain works, and with dissociative identity disorder and disorganized attachment, how the brain heals. So how integration works. And it takes, let me grab my notes to see some important data as important, 6 to 8 weeks for new synapses, new synapse connections to be created. And neurogenesis to, again, grow new neurons from the hippocampus. So there's a way that your brain actively moves into integration, which is why smart therapists will inform you of what to look for, but they will also inform you we don't have to achieve any integration right now. Our primary focus is to get you out of hell in your body where you have self-loathing and all this shit going on because you have had the unfortunate business of the first years of your life to have a self that was ruptured and not whole. Okay, so let's get home to yourself. And then we see people on screen saying things like this. I'm an avoidant attachment. And since they're picking on avoidance, I'm going to start talking about how it is to be an avoidant. Teenager right there. There's their mantle. Number 2. I did go to therapy, but they keep saying I'm doing a good job. And then they keep telling me to continue doing a good job with journaling, mindfulness, meditation. I'm paying them buttloads of money. I don't have it. And I don't really want to do that stuff. And plus, all people are fucked up, so why bother? Okay, cool. No, not at all. So the part of a feminine hearing something like that's why we don't wait around for masculines, because actively that's a masculine. That's the ego making up shit in the brain and actively not hearing the information of what is good for you. But I've seen it in class with human beings who actively say, I want a shortcut. I want integration to happen faster. It's kind of like, anybody watch My Cousin Vinny? Okay, if you haven't seen it, you could watch it. I'm going to give away some parts. So there's this scene where he finally figures out how to do his thing. I love My Cousin Vinny. He is awesome. So he's questioning one of the members of the, whatever it's called, witnesses. And the witness is lying through his teeth. So the scene that I need to describe first is that they're from New York, Manhattan, and I'm totally a city girl, so I totally understand what it's like. I don't want to go to the country. Don't bring me to the country. Don't bring me to Silent Land, please. No. I'm okay with having volcanoes that might erupt near me versus being in the middle of nowhere. And that's my personal preference. Okay, so some people, they want to be in the middle of nowhere. It makes me think of people who leave, like the Siddhartha story, and never come back. Yeah, no, I don't want the mountains. I like to be with the living. They need people. So, again, it makes me think of Jesus. He walked with all, and he actively welcomed all. And the fact is that he is the reason why I'm here, as well as God. And I do want to respect those who will remain in the 3D plane, because I understand how their brain doesn't capacitate what I'm sharing with those of you who do understand what I'm talking about. And let me use Sadhguru for a minute. And this is not a competition. We actively are not here, as any wise human being will tell you, like Sadhguru, to affect states of consciousness. I have scientists who can tell me how to explain it to you. If you don't return home and you reject this, it's called self-loathing and shame. It's the other end of the spectrum to enlightenment. So when you don't say, I choose me, you don't choose love. You're going to get captured, not because they're capturing you in a way of you being dumb. No, you're actively going to stand in front of a person like me and say, how dare you take all of this and make it into a pile of shit. I didn't do that. Actively leave it, the pile right there. I'm saying we're in the year 2024 and your communication is ineffective. It's brokenhearted and you're shaming and you are a person. So I don't do any of this because I actively am not here to do that. I don't want to. I don't have to. I'm a feminine. I know the balance, you see? I do know what humble means, and a grandiosity is the only human being who will actively do any of that, and that means they have low self-esteem. I'm going to let the 3-year-old have it. Please, have the floor. Chew me out, whatever. Keep talking. I'm so happy you feel satisfied. Did you get it off your chest? Good. Are you ready to go now? Can I go? Good. Siu, peace. This is the one reason a human being who has low self-esteem will not be able to talk with another human being who has confidence. Confidence means I'm humble. Confidence means I'm empowered. Confidence means I know I'm flawed and imperfect. Confidence means, though, I know my heart. I know why I stand in front of you and talk to you, which is the one reason why anytime somebody likes to chime in with their brokenness, I like to listen, because it's important to have them unload. One, they get it off their chest, so I know that they're not keeping it inside, which means it's good for the body. They finally let it out. Two, I know that if it's projection, they're going to do their little karma wheel again. That's their stuff. But three, I know that I'm an opportunity. And they're an opportunity for me to welcome my brother, sister, and whoever else it is, in the sense of a person that's part of life. Look you in the eyes while I accept, respect, and love you, because love is a feeling of the oxytocin gene hormone. I'm self-empowered. I have secure attachment. I'm not ashamed of Maria. You can look at me and look at me with disdain. I will be looking at you not with that, because that would be disrespectful. And when I have Kali mode, which means it's personal, I get up and go, because it's none of my business to bring my personal attitude to a person who wants to stay within whatever limited state of consciousness they want to be in. Not my business. I don't actively have the ability to teach you intelligence. I have the ability to share with you what intelligence is in the 5-year-old way. So here's lovely Sadhguru. If no matter what is given to you, you can make something beautiful out of it, that is intelligence. Yes, it's also called mental, emotional, and physical intelligence, which is a fancy way that the neuroscientists inform you of having the capacity to go with flow. And there's a Zen master who talks about laundry. That Zen master does not know intelligence yet. He actively doesn't know how to use his secondary consciousness, be aware of despair, and then be able to use this and say, well, like Marcus Aurelius said, what am I going to do here? Worry about it? Let me keep doing something called life, because I got 24 hours, which is why masculine will slow any feminine down who's a true feminine. We actively will not want to watch as they allow themselves to be treated like shit, because it's painful to my eyes to see a human being in shame actively tell me that it's okay for them to be treated like that, and then to treat somebody who's actively treating you with respect and acceptance. And then I get to find out, thanks, Dr. Daniel Fox, someone who is going to look and actively treat a kind human being with more distrust, which I have seen, which is also why we're not impressed when people study us. We know when it's happening. I know when it's happening. They don't know that I know because I'm actively a person who understands that a lot of people seem to not know their self, nor do they want to be their self. So you leave alone the masculines who actively don't say, yeah, I do have emotions. And you know what? I was wrong. Let me have the guts to say to the face of a person, I judged you completely. I completely thought of you as a bitch and an evil witch. So I love when people are that honest, by the way, because that's when you know an actual masculine and they have their feminine. So you know that they're ready to play the game of life, which is short. In fact, they're ready to finally be and do, which is really fun because, see, I'm not an only being. I'm a doing. Jesus, you're my man. And Buddha, I love you, but, you left your town. I can't say I don't want to sit under a tree for hours and days. I actively have things to do while I'm being. And that's the harmony of a enlightenment 5D. It's amazing. So when you know this is why there is no sitting in a tree, but you have to get here first. So let me continue to explain. When you have become aware of yourself and then you accept what is and you're able to let go, and so you don't have this thing of tragedy about death. That's the one thing that any feminine is like, I don't want to come back to oneness. I like living. I'm embodying. So we like to live. We also know that we're attached to it in a way that is, though, without attachment. So we know how to consistently navigate enlightenment because, again, we are able to transform. Mindful living and loving is this. It's actively energized because your energy body doesn't die. And because you're also pure consciousness body, you're navigating and embodying unconditional love. That's where Jesus comes in for me. He taught it to me. So I know my worth, and I do know that I'm going to be seen and that I'm going to breathe in, and whoever wants to accept me open-heartedly, they're going to have fun with me, and I'm going to have fun with them. Because that means that they're open-hearted and they know empowerment, which also means they know how to talk to me. Not lie to me, not hide from me, not be an asshole, not be any of that bullshit. They know passion, not lust. And they know romance, and that means they stick around and they talk actively, not silent. The silent treatment. You know what I laugh about? And that's because people like to just use words instead of empower themselves. I laugh about human beings who don't actively go and make sure to get empowered so that they can look in the face of anyone and just be a person. Because, again, the shame cycle is not a fun one, and I get it. So humanly speaking, I understand why a person with shame is not empowered, why they don't like change, and they are changed down, and they're all the masculines that I definitely have no thing to say about, except for if you find your actual self-expression and your body, then you're going to know compassion, and you're going to consistently expand consciousness. That's when you'll know discernment. That's when you'll know realization. That's when you finally embody person, and you will remember that we're all brothers and sisters and that we are not perfect, that we all were conceived the same way. So scientists share, again, the 1-year-old loses the capacity to be a whole self if they do not get secure attachment. That longing will stay there until they go and find out, oh, I need good therapy. Okay, cool. Now I can be whole again and get all those fragments of my child and integrate. And that's when I am my own divine feminine. And now my divine feminine and my divine masculine can play a dynamic duo. And then perception is mine, coherence, heart-mind harmony, all the things you will have heard and you continue to hear about out there. And that are beautiful. So with that being said, for the vision of one man lends not its wings to another man. This is when I'm a differentiated self. My name is Maria. I am a mystic, yes, and I am a channeler, but it's still food for thought. I'm a human being who accompanies the messages that come with me. I know it. I will not deny it. I have it right here. Whenever somebody wants to make it look like they're not here, it makes me laugh because I can totally tell where preferences lie. So I bring them to you. I love Jesus. I love God. Yes, Buddha, I love you too. Yes, Sadhguru, I love you too. You're not my favorites. If I have to put it on a scale, I already know who my favorites are. I also know it's because I grew up with catechism, because I had a good experience. It's part of Maria's journey. I'm here. This body is still a vehicle. I will be able to discern and make a difference between Maria and other energies. I don't have to. Even if I do, it's not provable. So the reality is you tune in to voices that match what you want to hear, number one, which is why you're only going to hang around when you're getting what you want, which is why another man does not give you the wings to fly. No, or woman or they. No, you have your own wings. It's called your inner child. You become a differentiated self. Once you're whole, come back around. Then you'll be ready for what we get to do here, because I unconditionally love with flaws and integrity. And that is where I already know how the shame button people feel about it, because they're all over internet perpetuating what is actively something that will have a feminine leave. And we're very happy that we don't get texted back. When someone is silent with me, it's not a torture chamber. I am actively busy with my life. So whether I'm thinking about you or not, I'm going to be actively doing, because I care about life. I care about me. I care about what I'm doing. I'm embodying somebody who has things to do, richness. So you're not feeling anything because I don't have a hole. I'm not looking for your thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm a whole 1-year-old. I'm an independent, conscious lover. I'm a whole 3-year-old. It means that I have an inner child, which is why whenever someone says, but you can't, it's hard to be in inner harmony. No, not for some of us. Some of us, we learned easily. By the time I was a teenager, I learned, yes, I'm going to follow my heart, body, and gut body. So sorry, God and Jesus. I disregarded some things. Now that I'm clear, I have it. Here's where 4D doesn't know how to read the way that 5D does. Excuse me. They're here for the 4D vibration people. So even as each of you stands alone in God's knowledge. Okay, let's transform this. Knowledge, we have a bunch of books, bunch of history, and then we have infinite space and beyond. Yes, but again, it is something that is in an energetic sphere. So we don't have to use the word God's knowledge in an effort of remembering that the people who want to use scripture this way, they actively think of people like me as demonic, horrible. They call us, again, names. They're using Luciferian, Lucifers all over the place. So you're going to keep hearing people use these words in ways that are insulting to not only that which God is, to a person who knows of faith blindly. But I was told, free will, Maria, you know this already. And as Robert Sapolsky points out in Determined, he wants to disprove God and free will. And he can do a pretty good job at it. And in either case, he will not disprove it to a person of faith. But what he does do is give me the opportunity to say what I had learned already in my attachment trauma courses: shame. You don't need it. It actively protected you because you didn't get what you were seeking, your body. So you can return to your homeostasis. It's wanting to. Your active human being body wants to return to restorative embodiment self, and so does your brain. It's an embodied brain, which is why when Sadhguru says, if you resist life, I forget how he does it, but basically he just doesn't know the psych education words. So when you numb shit down, the fucking, drinking, drugging, yes, Pinocchio on the island, becoming donkeys, which is actively what you see when people are completely blinded and they are a false feminine, in fact. And you'll find Peter Pans with their lost boys, lost girls following them based on how they read to you and how in-depth they go, because the masculine, that is not a whole, is only using one part of the brain. The left, chit-chatter, which doesn't like A and B touching each other, so they go rigid every time there's science and spirituality. They get completely out of sorts. That's because that's not okay. And they then use their brainstem because they're already offline. So I got a dumb human being in front of me. It's not an intelligence. It's a human being who's going to be able to regurgitate. But I'm going to notice that your pattern is in a fight-flight. And your dead eyes is, in fact, going to give it away. But I'm not going to call you an energy vampire, dark aura. No, I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to say you're Lucifer or you're some demon. No, I'm going to say you're a human who needs a good therapist. No, I'm not going to tell it to you. I'm going to know it inside. I'm going to have compassion. I'm going to leave it alone. And I say, wow, they need their loved ones to figure it out. And, come on, it's therapy. It's a good thing for you. Don't you know your survival mode is actively consuming you by the minute, and that you live shame every day and torture? Wow, it's really sad that you don't actively find it empowering to know that you're healable with the neuroscience and neurobiologists and all the good mental health professionals. I'm surprised. Oh, wait, there's people who want to prance around with mantles. I forgot. So, again, even as you stand alone in God's knowledge, so must each one of you be alone in his knowledge of God and his understanding of the earth. I, Maria, have an understanding of the earth, and I share with you what some could consider God's knowledge. I, again, want to respect 3D and will say that I am within that plane of infinite possibility, intelligence, energy, dark matter, dark energy. Again, dark doesn't mean anything good or bad. It means dark energy and dark matter. Go look it up. The quantum physicists know all about it. So the 5D mystics, we are not welcomed by 4D or 3D because they actively are using ancient scripture And then they just go really in depth on it and they keep using words rigidly. So they don't like when dictionaries update. It's why they're not mentally, emotionally, or physically intelligent. It's also why they're a narrow state of consciousness, and we won't be bothered to hang out with them too much because they won't want to be bothered with hanging out with us too much. They don't have the inner harmony of a healthy self-worth person, and they also don't have the inner harmony of what is a mindful, okay, and so integrated brain, and they don't know the frequency of the unconditionally loving who have flaws and integrity and compassion, and we accept differences of belief systems, of ways of talking, of using of words. We're actively functional adults. Our love language is this. Okay, so the feminine knows the way of the heart and the way of compassion because we know that you might not like me, but it's okay. My broken heart won't mean that it's personal. That's why I know how to be a true spirituality person. Life of connection and meaning beyond the solo self. You and I don't have to read shit the same way or talk about it the same way as I have confidence, you see? And then I'm interested in an intellectual exchange. And I'm emotionally open hearted because I'm not competing with you. Okay, so your crown, your third eye, your heart chakra, all of these have been opened up to that 5D frequency for the lovely 5D collective. And that is why your heart, body, and mind, your feminine, masculine, they harmonize. And when we have that enlightenment vibration and shame vibration, we know that there is a balance. There's a higher restorative field, a lower. It's not something provable, and we are not trying. So when you're a person who is spiritual, you don't need to prove what you intuitively know, because again, if you are feminine and masculine of your own and you are in the 5D frequency, you understand that your secondary consciousness as a human wants to know the beginning and the end, but you are aware that the psychological aspect is a condition, and for you it's not a dilemma. For those who have integration of the brain, so you don't go rigid when somebody presents to you new information, you go curious. Okay, that's why we have expanding relationships. Our oversoul doesn't die. We don't have tragedy with our twin flame or flames because we don't actively cast some fucking stone. We know that one way, shape, or form, we're going to learn something valuable because, again, I'm an intelligence and I'm a human and I know how to use what is called my prefrontal cortex and be in a physiological state of compassion and equanimity. And that's the restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating person. And you are here because of mindful mindset and mindset daily practices. So you don't have laundry like the Zen master. You actively understand I have emotions. You don't create distance from your emotional plane. You allow yourself to be a part of it. And this is why whenever someone says it's hard to have inner harmony, no, it's not. It's only hard for the ones who don't welcome whatever comes up because you don't want to say, yes, I'm an emotional, vulnerable person. There's no shame in it. When you are able to have a child-centric environment and not be ashamed and don't have no 3-year-old broken heart or 1-year-old, this is why it's easy for me. It's easy for me to be Maria. Always has been, always will be. And whenever I have opened up in ways that are actively the most vulnerable that you could ever be, and then you actively get treated in ways that have no reason to be, and then you actively also have the awareness that any person who is completely oblivious to their self will be completely oblivious to what they actively put into practice, okay? That's why feminine, we always do know. So I'm going to close this one out in a minute because, see, I have a lovely friend of mine. He likes to tease a lot. And in one of these moments that he was teasing with me, and it was on polyamory and stuff like that, he's the one who at first was like, so does that mean I can fuck you? No. Does that mean I can kiss you? No. Does it mean that you're going to marry all of them? No, I don't marry anyone. And so he likes to play like that. And so he also goes in, you were traumatized by your twin flames. You're just being, so long story short, this is also the same person who called me intimidating, that I was intimidating. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. And they're like, okay, you know what? Never mind. Let me leave that one alone. And so at a certain point, he mentions treatment and how people should treat each other, right? And so that balance. So here's why masculines will always be slower than a feminine until they get a feminine on board. And that's because their ego, it actively is consistently competing with this left mode and wanting to see and not believing from here or here. But again, we have a balance. It's why there's not ever going to be a not balance, if you will, and then one that we're recreating. And when people talk about oneness being no masculine, feminine, but being that word, yes, that exists. And here's where we can talk about Trinity. We can talk about so many things. But intuitively, you understand that to experience life, consciousness has broken into two, and then it keeps coming back in until it will exist. But that there is a natural cycle that ends. As for selection, it's the intelligent ones who actively make it out, because life does not auto-destruct, which is why the shame cycle people really don't know what they're talking about. But we leave alone the blinded. Again, they're on an island with Pinocchio. So long story short, when somebody brings to a feminine, the scale of treatment of somebody should be equal to what you're giving. So they're always doing this comparison with the ego. That's because of our ancestors way back when. They would kick us out of the herd if we didn't serve good for the herd, right? Okay, so there's this fear of inadequacy that comes with us as well. It's why the shame for the child who doesn't get securely attached, they feel defective. And they actively try to fix what's broken in the home, which is why if they don't become aware of, I don't need to fix anyone, nobody's broken. If they don't become aware of, I'm not broken either, they don't become aware of that shame cycle. And then they keep on doing things in a certain way. And that's the part of self-awareness. You would be aware of it by looking at, how did I treat another person with care? If you don't do that, that means you're not going to go and apologize. You're not going to go and action. An apology is not an apology. It's a conversation. And it's one where you spill the beans. Okay, I'm going to use another example in a minute, because I have my lovely friend that gave me the honor to share a beautiful conversation with him. This is another one. So when you have masculines who are opening up to their self, it's nice for feminine, because you're having an actual heart-to-heart conversation with them. Then if they continue upon their journey, is really beautiful. And that's because anytime you have chosen yourself, it means for feminine that they are feminine too, and that they have decided to be one with our oneness, you see? And you'll know it because they're authentically having fun. They're being able to express themselves, and they're awakened to all of their parts, and they're holding them together. So that's that integration of brain. You're welcoming all of your inner child. You're an adult, so you see yourself. So you say, I want to be seen by you. I like to be seen by you. I like to be seen by you. Like my friend who was lying to me at first about how these shit went down, and then he's like, I can't do it. I can't lie to you. I'm like, what? I need to tell you. I need to tell you the truth. I'm like, okay, it's okay. You're telling me. I didn't realize this was a big deal. And my friend then is, telling me about how he fled away from love and let his one love go. No more wife, no more kids. I'm like, it's okay. You can meet another one. No, but I ran, and I'm like, okay. But I know that I still want to flee. So see, he's healing, and he's doing good therapy, and he's adding mindfulness and meditation, but he still has this feeling, which is when calm is there, the hypervigilance, because your actual 1-year-old didn't have calm. So I want to leave. I want to go. Your 3-year-old, you were not safe. And as I shared words such as these with this friend, they're like, okay, you hit home. We need to change topic because I'm about to start crying. I'm like, okay, what do you want to talk about? We'll talk about what? Well, how about you? How are you doing? How are you doing? And he goes in to hit my own home and say, you never talk about yourself. I said, no, but I'm trying to catch up with you. I haven't talked to you in a long time. No, but you're a healer. So I said, no, don't use that word. I'm not a healer. I'm a person. But yes, I know what you're talking about, because when you are spiritual, this is a mystic friend, they know about us being those who transform and transmute energy. I also know about it. And here's another part of our lovely, I want to read to you some of what I have for our community today. Transformation in moments of change or unhappiness, they don't create destabilization or a humbug attitude for the 5D collective. The 5D collective are mindful and spiritual, living and loving people. But and that is all inclusive, but it's all healthy self-worth. Okay, so the ones who are doing shame still, they're on a journey. So whenever 5D hits, their shit's gonna come up. If they're on a good journey, they're gonna welcome more of their parts back home. So they're going to be doing this. They're gonna be aware with their feminine, not be ashamed. So they're going to accept what is bothering them as an emotion, and then they're also going to let it go. How? In a healthy way, not with drugs, not with fucking, not with any of the unhealthy stuff. It's with healthy people who know how to, In fact, see them as differentiated selves, and so not judge what they're telling you about their story. And that's why the therapists, the good ones, share with any of their clients. You want to find healthy self-worth people that can see you for who you are, and that then let you express. And so in a safe space, like my friend who felt safe to share with me, I didn't ask my friend, I didn't even know that he was not telling me the truth. I don't think about friends that way. If you don't tell me what you don't tell me, it's your business. You don't have to tell me anything. I'm just there to share a moment of life with you. So that's how feminine feels, which is why, going back to the other friend, when my friend's like, you can't keep giving more, I said, I don't give more, I don't give less. I'm who I am, and I give what I want to give. My relationships are built on that, not on an exchange. You're making it sound like there isn't. There's not an exchange. I share what I want with my relationships. They share with me what they want, and I will know where and when and if I'm feeling that it's not on the same plane. Okay, but whether it's romantic love or friendship love, or just basically any relationship, we don't have a scale. Feminine don't use a scale, because we'll know when we are upset. We'll talk to you about it. That's it. And then we'll also know when people are uninterested. So when I have individuals who don't actively take the time, to again, it's fine. It's fine, meaning that you accept it. When those masculines I'm talking about, right? So as I got to learn about the masculines that are not whole, I got to learn about the masculines that are whole. And so feminine will always say, I'm still being given the opportunity by life to continue to know about mindful living and mindful loving. Okay, and so that transformation is because processing emotions. When I get to accept when I got to accept moments of life where people did do things that are pretty much, they're shitty, I learned from them. So today, what I can say to you is I'm enriched by every single one of the experiences. So no masculine incomplete took anything away. And when they did, I got it gifted back. I got it given back. And I'll never forget how that works and how I know. So here's another thing about a feminine. We don't have questions about our oversoul. We actively will know. So the minute that I began engaging in this specific bond, it was a download that was intuitive. I was like, we're here to serve something very important. And then I just continued to allow my gut to do its thing and to allow it to continue to know and notice. And then when I look back, that's why I always look back and say, wow, so cool. There's no laundry, Zen master. You really need to do more mindfulness. So you look back as a feminine, and I will only be able to see that I got gifted more love, more life. And in fact, so here's the side note for any actual mystic out there who's watching this. If you're 5D, you're going to know what I'm talking about. And so it's one of those, it's a woo-woo spiritual thing. So basically, if you don't believe, it's okay. But this is where I'm going to share. You know the song, the Sleeping Beauty song. I know you. I walked with you once upon a dream. I know you. The gleam in your eyes is so familiar, a gleam. So it's funny because Sleeping Beauty was my favorite as a child growing up. It's the first book I learned to read, and I would read it to kids and sit them down. I was like 3 or 4. I remember looking at it, and I loved her story for some reason. But this gleam, and I met you once upon a dream, I've had the actual experience of it. And this was at the same time where I had noticed this gleam thing going on as a mystic. But I noticed the difference between the people that are involved in this remembrance, which was a couple years back. So in one equation, yes, a part of my bigger extended oversoul, but not a direct relationship with me. The other, direct relationship with me. In my oversoul you are, and a part of me you are, and a part of I and you are one and in the same. No, we're not, but there is a difference between twin flame and flames and soulmates, and a feminine will know, and it's on the energetic imprint. That's all I'm going to share with you. And if you're mystic again, I do one-to-one mentorship if you need extra support, and then our masterclass will be focused more on mindful living, but we will have also spiritual retreats. But again, if you're a mystic who is resonating and you want one-to-one guidance and support because you know you need it and you can find value, reach out by email. My sharing is to let you all in on the fun fact that we don't have tragedy We only have smiles. Even when we are faced with the storm, when that moment hit, the only thing I can tell you is like, I'm like waiting for it to end. Then I'm waiting for more answers. And then I'm waiting for more answers. In the meantime, I'm like, okay, this is getting more and more humorous by the minute. So I just kept learning and I kept learning and I keep on learning. So when I got the download, okay, this person's going to give you something back. They're part of your oversoul. I didn't know what to actively expect as we moved along. And then at a certain point, I got my lovely little rainbow heart back. So when you're downloading and you're having this stuff happen as you're embodying more of you, it just begins to become so familiar. So whenever well, actually, this story is what I have to say is the reason I recognize the energetic imprint is because I got a download. So I knew intuitively that they and I were going to bring to each other good, important lessons to learn on expanding consciousness. But I always, feminine, will focus on this because actively I'm not a part of the other person's body, heart, or mind. So they will do with their brain, their left mode, and that's why masculines, they don't actively impress us because if they are without a feminine, they're not going to be doing anything. And we actively are not upset at, again, no communication is good. I don't have to do anything. I'm not going to reach out to a person who hasn't chosen their self, who hasn't chosen to be a human being, who actively understands what it is to create meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships means you have an open-hearted dialogue, not you come in and out. Meaningful relationship is because we build consistently a secure connection at the very bare minimum. So we are all creatures of habit, you see. And so the minute that you don't give a shit about creating a direct communication line with me, quote unquote, don't give a shit. It's not giving a shit because it feels you're unseeing me. I'm not in your eyes. But if feminine will know, that's okay because they are seeing that which they want to see. This is why, again, it's not, oh, I'm so upset. It will be the energy that is present is not taking away from you. It is actively allowing you to understand that masculine is not a masculine. They don't have a feminine. You're feminine. You have a masculine. It is a balance of energy. So you will perceive those who are in your oversoul always. You will leave it alone when they are people who don't have their own self and they don't choose their self because they actively don't choose healthy self-worth partners, patterns, and any of it. So what I can tell you is that, again, the 5D collective, we're mindful, spiritual, mystics, secular. We have inner child adults. We're functional adults, and we know how to live and have self-awareness, accountability, and regulation in the forefront. We are authentic. We want authentic people. We definitely have secure attachment and or earned. It doesn't matter, but you are here with your inner child parts all ready to be playing integration, restorative embodiment life. It's healthy self-worth people that do mindful mindset and mindset practices. And those are the people who right now have a heart and body and a mind that is in one. Man, woman, doesn't matter. What I want to conclude with so we can have some other episodes is that the wisdom of the heart is only wisdom when you have a whole heart. And that means you know how to notice when it's broken. And when it's broken, it's your own personal sadness that you can work with because it's about connection. It's not personal. The amygdala of a masculine will not be alerted to that which is of value until they are actively chosen here. So like my friend, as he's saying, I'm lying to you, let me spill the beans. And he's telling me all about how he refused and rejected love for fear. And he ran away. And now he's regretting. He's regretting and he's upset. And he really is, actively trying to figure out the best sweet spot. And he is in this place of, again, mind with masculine and feminine. And the part that is the most beautiful is, again, to see that he's welcomed himself and he understands that he can't crap on himself for having had childhood trauma. So that's the part of what his therapy prior to this moment gave him. So he knows, okay, what's my next sweet spot? And here's why your feminine will always lead you to where you're meant to go. His body knows and his mind in harmony. I still like to have the capacity to flee away. This ability to flee away, he doesn't use the I'm afraid. It's a fear, he knows it, but he is looking at it as I need to be engaged. And so the masculine, this is why the feminine gets out of the way and leaves it alone, I just leave it, go be with laundry. Because the minute that you're actively changing the words on what is a physical, I'm running away from fear, is because your ego is telling you that that's vulnerable. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be weak. And so we have, once again, that shame coming up. The only person who can motivate themselves to talk about it differently is the masculine. And that's only if they keep welcoming the fear and saying fear isn't the way you live relationships. Sitting calmly is the way you live relationships. And here's where Stephen Porges comes in. He has a lovely, he's the polyvagal theory doctor. And he shares how when we began to be able to sit together, that's when we began to have our ventral vagal state. And that's when we are beginning that social engagement. And that the indication that you love is only going to be meaning when your oxytocin gene hormone is on. So when I can sit with you in calmness and not want to leave. He has a scale or whatever. And so the amount of time you can sit still, which is why when you go to Buddha and yogis and all that, the feminine, from that perspective about sitting in stillness. And then the masculine is doing. The perfect sweet spot is a person who is in their inner and outer well-being health. So again, restorative embodiment, the good sciences, mental health, the ones who are updated, they're all sharing a bunch of beautiful information. Like my friend, though, and others who are healing, they will still have ways that they will work with words, because we all do, to make it feel right to them. But their body is leading them home to themselves. So our interaction was actively supportive to me, to him. And I noticed as he's trying to say, fear is good for me. I know what's happening because I'm attachment trauma informed. I'm also a caring connection. I'm a person who cares. I'm not a martyr superior. So you'll find that adaptive child person, people who are not functional adults, they start to tell each other what to do. And even though I try not to do this stuff basically to teach you about the psych education, I will, because I have the knowledge, imparted. Which is why as I'm talking to my friend, he keeps saying, it seems like you think you know everything. There's ego again. And that's where I can't say something is good or bad. I can only address it by saying I'm not saying I know everything. I know some things. And that's how you allow a person to know I'm not a know-it-all. You know, at the same time, it slows all things down. So for me, I'm just used to people, again, presenting it because of I am a curious person. If you're talking to me, I'm curious to want more because I have empowerment. I'm confident. You're not destabilizing me. You're not taking away from me. You telling me what you think doesn't change my mind, you see? So whatever you're telling me, I'm welcoming it because you're not affecting me. And so my ego doesn't enter the picture because you're not affecting who I am by giving me information. I'm actively welcoming it because I like it. And so that's where for the feminine, it's a lot different when we have masculines who are still getting their feminine on board, because they will come up with this, seem to know everything, and it's the tone that gives it away, but also just the way that they address it. Because if you're a person who's empowered with your feminine, you're going to be curious. You're just going to stay in consistent curiosity. You're going to continue resonating and building trust with me, and our conversation is going to be shits and giggles completely. No ego in town. It's like, give me more, and I give you more, you give me more, and that's where that tango is. So once you have a feminine, a masculine, and okay. So to conclude with the lovely story and our episode, as they are understanding that fleeing is still something they want to engage in, but they're calling it something different, which is I want a job that gives me this, and then I want people that give me this, and so they have it all organized the way the masculine likes to. This is those A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't want it to be mixing up, and I don't want to do too much feelings because I need to, so you're still learning to contain it and to expand, okay? And so long story short, though, understanding I want to build meaningful connection. I don't want to run away from a future partner, and I want to help myself. So I'm going to go back to therapy. I'm going to integrate mindfulness meditation. I'm going to keep doing what I have been doing. And my friend, see, I had seen him the year prior, and he was a lot more in what is an energy of I know what I'm doing. Okay, which was nice to meet. Now I get to see the part of where they actively were in this, but it wasn't true. and they actively ran away from something and someone that they wanted to marry and build a life with. And today they're humbled by it in a way that is sad, but at the same time in a way that's bringing them to heal. And that's why the masculines have the shorter end of the stick, because they come from that shame button to welcome themselves back home requires their actual effort. Thank goodness in the year 2024 we have good therapists that can accompany holistic and spiritual practices and mindfulness living and life and love, which is why all of them together, they create teams. They don't dismantle each other and point fingers. The ones who are doing the all or nothing, they actively have, we're just going to leave that to the side. And for our collective, we bring sciences and spirituality together because they actively support mental hygiene, mental health, and inner and outer well-being. And so spiritual, psychological, we don't exclude any part of being a human being. That's why we do self-help here, and mindful living again. So spiritual doesn't get rid of the humanity of you. In fact, if you overflow in it, as our lovely Sadhguru says, divinity descends. But see, when he doesn't understand how the brain works, he doesn't understand how to explain to you why yoga can bring shit up. It's not demons. It's called trauma charges. Peter Levine again. Muscles, bones, tissue, stores it. Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps the score. The lovely Lisa, the brain keeps the count. And then she says the body is the scorecard. So whenever you meet smart human beings that are subject matter experts, they're informing you got emotions coming up. And trauma charges and ascension energies always are bringing up more of your feminine so you can welcome yourself back home. When it's too tough, people armor themselves shut. But it's not ever too tough if you have healthy self-worth, people around you to give you an opportunity. However, the only person who can have the will to heal completely is you. And that's why we here at least are in favor of healing trauma one person at a time, one relationship at a time, because we have the open heart and the open gut and the open mind. And we also have what is called healthy self-worth. So your behavior, I will not be lecturing you. I will not be telling you. I share information, but I won't be saying you need to do something. No, I will address your behavior. And if you treat me in ways that I will find disrespectful, I will let you know and I will recalibrate. And the minute that you try to do any of whatever other people label, I'm not going to be labeling it ghosting, gaslighting, manipulating. No, I'm a proactive human being. The minute I see you consistently doing something, I actively have watched your pattern like you've watched mine. And I'm going to know what you are seeking. And I'm going to know that you are not seeking active heart-to-heart engaging conversations because you haven't opened up anything with me. While I can open up with you because I choose to, because I don't build void, empty relationships. You see? That's why when my one friend was saying, but you can't, no. I choose what I bring to my relationships. I have an open heart. They want to be closed-hearted. It's their stuff, not mine. This doesn't create a distance. It creates where I know what you are, what you want to be, what you want to bring, and it's not something that is on a scale. It's an active, secure connection. And so mindful living and loving is this, where we love, accept, respect each other, and we recalibrate. And then obviously we are going to be with people who are open-hearted. So partners, they can't be people who are closed because that would be they're emotionally unavailable. And share and subscribe, and see you again soon.